Before dessert, we have one more family announcement, my mother said, tapping her glass. Tessa and Jonah are divorcing, and she has agreed to sign Grandma's house over to us before her husband steals it. Relatives turned toward me. My father placed an envelope beside my plate. Jonah's chair was empty. I looked cornered and alone. What my parents did not know was that the envelope was what I needed. 3 months earlier, my marriage was strained, not broken. Jonah and I lost a pregnancy in August, and grief split our home into 2 islands. He worked late at the city garage. I buried myself in property records at a title company. We stopped arguing because it required energy. My parents mistook our silence for weakness. Grandma Estelle had left me her paid-off Victorian house. My parents, Lorna and Philip, had cared for her there, so I let them stay under an occupancy agreement. They could not sell, borrow against, or transfer it. Then my brother Wade decided to buy a sports bar. Dad asked me to mortgage Grandma's house for Wade's down payment. I refused. It was my only inheritance, and Grandma had made me promise not to risk it for Dad's temporary opportunities. After that, Mom began calling Jonah privately. "She says you're controlling everything," he told me one evening. "She wants to know whether I'll claim half the house if we divorce." "We're not divorcing." I told her that. A week later, I found a photographer measuring the front porch. He said Dad had scheduled listing photos. Dad claimed it was for insurance, but the work order named a brokerage. That was my first warning. The second arrived at work. A title alert showed a loan inquiry against Grandma's address. Someone had submitted a divorce petition signed by Jonah and a marital waiver releasing his interest in the property. The documents looked convincing until I noticed the court case number contained 8 digits. Our county had used 10 digits for 2 years. I said nothing to my parents. I ordered a certified docket search. No divorce existed. Jonah checked his credit and found an unfamiliar identity verification attempt. We met at our kitchen table for the first honest conversation in months. "I didn't leave you," he said. "I just didn't know how to reach you." I cried, not because everything was fixed, but because my parents had used the worst season of my marriage as an opening. Jonah and I began preparing together. I preserved the documents, contacted the lender's fraud department, and found the notary whose stamp appeared on the waiver. She had never met Jonah. Her seal had been copied from a document for Dad's construction company. The lender froze the application, but asked us not to confront anyone while they traced the submission. Then, Mom invited us to Christmas dinner. Jonah received an emergency work call, so I arrived alone. Mom seated me at the end of the table. Dad waited until everyone had eaten before making his announcement. He pushed the envelope toward me. "Sign tonight," he said. "You've already failed at marriage. Don't fail this family, too." My aunt gasped. Wade stared at his plate. Inside the envelope were the forged petition, the marital waiver, and a deed transferring Grandma's house into a trust controlled by my parents. Mom leaned close. "Jonah filed Monday. He said you were too emotional to handle it." "Which courthouse?" I asked. Dad's smile tightened. "Don't play games." The front door opened. Jonah entered beside Celeste Park, the lender's fraud investigator. Behind them stood the notary whose seal had been copied. Dad rose so quickly his chair fell backward. Jonah placed a certified court search on the table. I filed nothing. Mom claimed they had prepared the papers only to protect me. Celeste opened her tablet. Then explained why the application came from Philip Vale's office computer, using Lorna Vale's phone for verification. Dad pointed at me. She asked us to handle it. That was their last mistake. I played the voicemail Mom had left 2 weeks earlier. Once Tessa signs, the lender releases the money, Wade gets the bar, and she never knows we used the divorce papers. No one defended them. I looked at my parents. "You didn't protect me. You priced my grief." The lender referred the application for fraud investigation. The copied notary seal triggered another complaint. Wade withdrew from the bar purchase and admitted Dad promised him the house was theirs. I terminated my parents' occupancy agreement for trying to encumber the property. I gave them 60 days to move because I wanted my decision to reflect me, not them. Jonah and I moved into Grandma's house that spring. We attended counseling, rebuilt slowly, and planted a magnolia where Grandma's roses had died. My parents rented across town. Most relatives stopped believing them after seeing the records. Christmas had once meant proving I belonged at their table. That year taught me something quieter. Family is not who announces your life for you, but who stands beside you while you reclaim it.